We talked about the things that are ultimately holding us back. In slide number 6, I called them the unholy trinity. They're all religions. I use the term religion here not about the world religions like Islam or Judaism or Christianity or Hinduism or Taoism or Buddhism, etc. That's not the concept I'm using religion in here. I'm talking about religion as a concept of mind control, of holding one back from where they really need to go. From the Latin relegare, meaning to tie back, to hold back, to thwart. To hold back from forward progress by binding, by tying. That's what relegare means, and that is where the word religion comes from. In the positive sense, yes, true religion could mean to reconnect, to tie back to. In the negative sense, which is how I'm using it in this connotation, I'm talking about religion as a whole of holding us back in consciousness. And that's what the world is being held back by. False belief systems that do not serve us, based on things that are not real, like money and authority. There is no such thing as authority. It does not exist in a three-dimensional space-time continuum. There's no such thing as money. It is a construct that only exists in the human mind. It does not exist in nature. It is an aberration of the mind. These things completely holding us back. They need to be abandoned.
The Oracle broad.
Welcome back, folks. I'm Mark Passio, and this is What on Earth is Happening here on the Oracle Broadcasting Network. My website is whatonearthishappening.com. We're talking about the things that hold us back as a species and how developing true self-love will help us to heal our worldview and stop believing in these fantasies. They're phantasms. They're things that are not real, that do not exist in nature, that are only put there to hold us back. They're ideas, they're belief systems. They're not truth. Truth and natural law are the only authorities, and they are not worldly things. Authority in man does not exist. Truth is the authority. That's it. Natural law is the authority. You're bound by those things. Whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, whether you want to understand it or not, doesn't matter. Irrelevant. When it comes to truth and natural law, the universe does not care what you think. Get over it. I don't know how many times I can continue to say that, but that's how it is. Most people don't want to accept that. They want to think that they're the arbiter of truth, that it's all relative, that there's no objective truth. You know, they want to think that authority exists in the physical domain and that they can impose their will on others and get away with it forever, and the joke's on them. They're kidding themselves. They always have been kidding themselves. Many of them just don't know it in the incarnation they're living in right now. But the idea of authority and government as being one of the members of the Trinity, this unholy Trinity that holds us back, it's the newest incarnation of these mechanisms to hold us back to a low state of consciousness and evolutionary progress. Ultimately, there's a father and mother of this Trinity. Again, these are the basis for this old world order, this direct bloodline rulership of kings that had authority given to them by God, granted by God or the gods to rule over man. And that's where ultimately kingship and priesthood came out of in the ancient world. That I'll be the interface between you and God. You can't speak directly to God. You have to go through me. And I have the authority that was given to me by God. The divine right of kings. Wonderful concept. Basically, people convincing other people that they have the right to rule them. That they were given that right by some supernatural entity, and therefore government is divinely appointed. It just sounds a lot better than I came over from the next neighboring territory across those mountains and, set up shop here and I'm going to rule you now. And people buy it. They always have bought it. Just like they've always bought money. This other illusion, this other thing that doesn't exist in nature that people believe in as a religion. It's their one and only God. It's the ultimate religion. This is the God of this world, set up by the old world order to bring in the new, as the birth giver of the new world order, the divine, the unholy mother, I should say, of this trinity of unholiness. So these occultists created this system so that they can get everybody worshiping it, everybody believing it as their religion. And I don't care whether it's fiat money or any other kind of money, gold, silver, it doesn't make a difference. It's all a representative construct that is not actually the things that do carry energy. Gold is not food. Gold is not water. You're not going to eat it and get energy from it. It is not sunlight. Okay? That's what energy actually is. That's what real money is. Real money is actually something that's within us, a power that's within us. That's why it's called the one eye. It's the power of the soul. That's the real money. But energy, money representing energy, is an illusion. The only real forms of energy we need is sunlight, water, food, air, etc. Real resources that enable us to live because they nourish the physical vehicle that we live in while we are in incarnation here on this world. And I don't care how much you want those things to represent those other things that you do actually need for sustenance. Try and eat some gold, and you'll find out just how much it actually is the food or water that you need to subsist. It only represents it, and it only ever has represented it. Once you get into that form of thinking that this is that, because it represents it, I'm going to use it as a medium of exchange, and that will suddenly make it okay, and it'll never turn into a form of bondage, just as long as we all agree that that's the medium of exchange. It doesn't make a difference how voluntary an illusion is. It's still an illusion. Money does not, never has, and never will exist in nature. And by believing in that construct and accepting it as representations for those real life, physical, natural things, you're always going to go down a path of enslavement. Always, every time. And I'm not a communist or a socialist. I stand totally against those forms of tyranny and enslavement and control by the state, because ultimately we need to get to a point where we recognize there's no authority in man and there is no money. Those two religions need to be abandoned. That's the ultimate solution if you really want to get down to it. Now, how can we do that? Only by raising our consciousness to the point where we understand that we are all one, and that as one suffers, all suffer. That's why people can't stop abandoning and stop believing in those things, because they're not at that level of consciousness. That's the very reason they're unable to give up these religions, because their consciousness has not evolved to a point where they understand that they are one with everything around them. That's why they still stay attached to these constructs that some people have authority over other people, that we need money to live. You hear that one all the time. You can't live without money. No, of course not, if you think that's your God, if you have no imagination, if the belief in this religion has destroyed your imagination to a point where it is impossible for you to even imagine that it's possible to live without this construct of the mind. Then of course, yeah, it's going to be impossible to live without money, and you're going to create chaos by not having it around. When in fact, it's really the thing that's creating chaos in everybody's life and blocking everybody from self-fulfillment. And yet people still want it around and still think it's absolutely necessary. And as long as they do, they're never going to evolve to the point in consciousness that they need to be at to truly, truly effect a solution. So let's talk about the word solution, because we're going to really talk about what one of the ultimate solutions to all of these problems are. Again, it's apophatic. It means you have to get rid of something. It means you have to abandon self-loathing. You have to abandon the things that you don't like about yourself by developing the willpower to improve upon those things. That's what development of self-love is. And that's one of the ultimate solutions